So, welcome to the meeting of full council this evening. I'm the Mayor of Rugby, Councillor Barbara Brown, and I'll be chairing the meeting. This meeting is being web streamed to the public through the council's YouTube channel. During the meeting, councillors, if you wish to speak, please use the push to talk button on the microphone in front of you. I'd like to welcome any members of the public who aren't there at the moment but may well be shortly this evening to observe the meeting should they wish. I would, however, ask that if they appear, they don't attempt to participate in the proceedings of the meeting. Before we begin the formal agenda, I'll ask the Acting Chief Exec to provide details of the evacuation procedure for those present, please.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. Good evening, all. There is no fire drill scheduled in the building this evening. If the fire alarm does sound, then please make your way out of the building, down the main staircase, out the main doors of the Town Hall and congregate at the entrance to Caldecott Park, where an officer of the council will give instructions on when it is safe to return to the building.
Thank you, Acting Chief Executive. Are there any apologies?
Madam Mayor, we have apologies from Councillors Dumbleton, Mackenzie, Parker, Picker, Srivastava, Thompson, Councillor Dale Keeling and Councillor Sanderson.
Thank you. Okay, so we move on to item 2, which is to approve the minutes of the meeting of council held on the 23rd of April and the annual meeting held on the 15th of May 2025. So I move that the minutes of the meeting of council held on the 23rd of April 2025 and the annual meeting held on the 15th of May 2025 be approved and adopted. Do I have a seconder?
Madam Mayor, I'm happy to second.
Thank you. Those in favour, please show. Looks unanimous to me, thank you, but just to check, those against, please show. So the minutes are approved and adopted. Thank you. On to item 3, declarations of interest. Can I remind members that when they declare interests, they must also declare the general nature of that interest? Are there any declarations under A, non-pecuniary interests as defined by the Council's Code of Conduct for Councillors? Or B, pecuniary interest as defined by the Council's Code of Conduct for Councillors? Or C, notice under Section 106, Local Government Finance Act 1992, non-payment of community charge or council tax? Thank you. So we move on to item 4, which is Mayor's announcements. I'm now in the 7th week of my time as Mayor of Rugby, and in that time I've had the absolute privilege of carrying out, it says at least 46 engagements. It's probably double that, or it certainly seems like it. The Love Rugby Festival has been an outstanding success, building strong and growing connections between, as we planned it to do, the town, the people who live in it, its citizens, and the council. Now, highlights for me were the events day in Caldecott Park. Who knew that I was a natural fencer? But I am. The Learn to Run Faster event on the athletics track, I didn't. And the 5K fun run through the town in a tropical downpour. Congratulations to the many officers, councillors and volunteers who helped this happen. And I was looking forward to using a starting pistol, but they wouldn't let me have that. They'd only let me use a klaxon, but it still went off quite well. So I've been really fortunate to attend exhibitions at our marvellous art gallery and museum. We are so lucky to have that, with displays of outstanding local artistry. There's a huge wave of artistic talent in this town, and we have a new acquisition in the art gallery. If you get a chance, go and see it. It's the most stunning piece of art. It's humbling to see the way that organisations like the Rugby Club work with children and young people to help them build up their self-worth. And in my mayoral year, I'm actually president of the Badby Club. I recognise that there are many other fantastic organisations, youth clubs and so on in this town. But just to say, I visited Bradby and we were looking at the boxing gym there, and I'm seeking out ways to fundraise so that the boxing gym can be upgraded. That's as well as seeking your support and help to raise funds for my two charities. So I'll be looking for your support in a number of ways to do that. And lastly, I am very proud to report that the Council have received the Silver Award for the Armed Forces Covenant. We really value this award. We place huge importance on helping ex-service people and their families to adjust to circumstances when they leave active service, which is so difficult for so many of them. So I'm also going to start a blog if anybody is interested in seeing the details of what's happened and what I've done. I'll try and keep it as entertaining as possible too. But just very quickly, before we move on to the main business, may I remind you that it's 5 minutes maximum speaking time for speakers. And as you know, and I know this always happens in this chamber, everything goes through the chair. Okay, thank you very much indeed. So we'll move on to item 5, which is appointment of the Deputy Mayor. As no nominations have yet been received, this item is deferred to the next meeting.
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Oh, please.
Just a point of order on this. Should that not be on blue if it's going to the next? It usually has been, Madam Mayor.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Paul. I think it's just a statement of fact. I think it's okay to do it this way. Thank you. Okay, so if we move on to item 6, questions pursuant to Standing Order 10. Are there any questions, Acting Chief Exec?
Madam Mayor, there are no questions.
Thank you. So 7A, to receive the report of Cabinet dated the 24th of June 2025. In submitting the report to Cabinet, if members wish to raise questions or to comment, will they please indicate they wish to do so when I call the item? So can I call on Councillor Robinson, please? Will you move the confirmation and adoption of item 1 of the report titled South West Rugby Design Code SPD adoption?
I so move. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Do I have a seconder?
I second it, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Robinson, would you like to speak to introduce the report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, thank you. So this is the South West Rugby Design Code supplementary planning document. The context to this paper is that National Planning Policy encourages councils to bring forward design codes. This is a way of creating a vision for the development of a designated area and guidance for planning applications that will come forward in the future, guidance for those applications to take into account. It's not a statutory requirement and the documents are guidance rather than policy. So not all councils will produce design codes for all new developments, but I am really delighted that we have done that in the case of South West Rugby. This is a very well-researched and well-consulted design code that we're bringing to council this evening. I'd like to say a really big thank you to the officers that have worked very hard over the past year to bring this forward since the 4-week consultation period. And also to councillors, members of the consortium, everybody that, highways, everyone that has engaged in helping us to develop this design code through the feedback that they have given. So there was a 4-week consultation period, and following that we have reviewed and made some modifications. And so it's come forward to council for adoption. And as stated in the paper, that's adoption with the delegated power to the Chief Officer to make amendments before publication adoption. As usual, this would be minor corrections or consistency issues. So In principle, we have the design document before us, and I hope to have support for its adoption. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Do we have any speakers on this? Councillor Roodhouse.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I welcome the report and the document that's been produced and all the work that's gone into it. I'm seeking assurances tonight, really, in relation to this, as this rolls forward, around enforcement, that actually we have these nice documents, these nice planning policy documents, and it's all there. And the bit that never seems to quite gear in properly is the enforcement to ensure that what we've said actually gets delivered and actually gets tested on the ground. So, if you like, the one big assurance and plea I think that I want to make tonight is that we have that clear assurance about enforcement, especially around all planning issues, and we actually, put our foot down on this and make sure that developers and people know what's going on. And as we've seen in the national press today around house builders, they are a law unto themselves of how they want to operate. So we spend a lot of time and a lot of money producing this document. We need to make damn sure that it's actually implemented by those developers and those people that are coming into this town.
Thank you, Councillor Roodhouse. Do we have any other speakers? Please. Councillor Simpson.
Thank you. I wasn't going to speak on this, but something just occurred to me with this. We know house developers like to talk about viability quite a lot, and just wondering what sort of checks and balances we've got in place when a developer goes, yes, I want to build here, then they're faced with the design code and go, oh, I don't know, it's a bit expensive, we can't really, it's not going to make the site viable. Where's our manoeuvring on that? How firm are we going to stand on that, given that we've done a lot of work to get to this point? So I'm just curious where we think we are on that one. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any others? Please. Councillor Lawrence.
Can I say thank you for the officers for preparing this and the engagement they've had with us during the period of its development as the local councillors of South West Rugby. I think it's really what I've seen develop there, I think will have a lasting imprint on South West Rugby. So it's a pleasure to see. And this coming in at the timing to actually the comments being made, we have 3 planning things coming through. So a member of the planning committee, it's great that we actually have this now before those planning things come in, and we actually can start referring back to this flooding planning local plan. So, okay, thank you. And yes, I would support the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Lawrence. Can I call Councillor Morin, please?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Just a couple of quick things. I guess firstly in relation to, I'm sure Councillor Robinson can respond in more depth, but I think to Councillor Simpson-Vince, I think with regards to, if you want, the principle of review mechanisms, I think it's fair to say that the council has kind of learned from some of the aspects of the Holton scheme that perhaps could have been done better in hindsight in order to allow future review mechanisms. So I think fundamentally that's the key element here. I wanted to just echo some of the comments that it's great that we've got this done. Appreciate it's been quite a challenge. It's been a work to get this through because it's not always the most glamorous of documents to progress, but it's been a cross-party effort that's been really, really good to see. On behalf of constituents in Admirals and Corson, I just wanted to put a point of clarification on the record that the plan does make clear that there will be a strategic green corridor through South West Rugby. That is not up for debate. That is unambiguous in terms of connecting Cock Robin Wood and Corson Spinney. So sometimes with these big lengthy documents, sometimes things can be summarised in a way that's not quite as accurate as it may. Those policies are sacrosanct and they are embedded in this, and any future planning application which goes to planning committee will need to recognise that. So just wanted to make that point. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Do we have any more speakers? Councillor Robinson, would you like to reply?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, everybody. Yes, so to Councillor Roodhouse, the question around enforcement. So with every application that's coming forward, as you will know, each applicant will need to demonstrate how they intend to comply, and then that flows through to our enforcement processes to make sure that they comply how they said they were going to comply. That question then does, though, interface with yours, councillors, when actually they come to us and say, well, we'd like to comply, but now we're questioning the viability of this. So therein we have to fall back on the fact that we've done extensive consultation around this and that this is an evidenced, informed process that we're engaged in. But, you know, things can change. And so, and this is guidance. And like Councillor Moran has mentioned, there are review mechanisms within there. So, you know, we can't, you know, say hand on heart, this is definitely how it's going to look. But if we don't have a vision and an aspiration and a clear framework to work to, then we're never going to achieve that. So I think it's really about being very strong on requiring that evidence base, pushing back for that evidence base, and then checking that evidence base. And you know, we've done that before as a council, where we will get our own viability studies done and get our, you know, our own view on these things. So we are, as a council, prepared to be strong and stand up for the principle, but not to the point that we make things undoable or unviable. So it's going to be a fine balance to strike, and I am committed to do my best to strike that balance. So thank you for your comments. I think I picked up on everything.
Thank you, Councillor. And it's you again, Councillor Robinson. Will you move the confirmation and adoption of item 2 of the report, please, titled Communication and Engagement Strategy?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I so move.
Do I have a seconder?
Exit, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay, so...
Councillor Robinson, would you like to introduce the report? Sorry.
I jumped the gun, didn't I there? Sorry, Madam Mayor. Okay, and it was my excitement to announce this paper that I jumped the gun. Yeah, the communication strategy. This is a communication and engagement strategy that has been written for residents so that we can transparently make a promise to residents about how we will communicate and engage with them, and the customer charter that we aim to uphold in our engagement with them. This enables our residents and businesses to hold us accountable. It gives them a framework and an expectation, the customer charter. Overall, the document as a whole gives them a sense of how we will engage with them and indicates how we want to co-produce and consult. There are some examples in here of how we've started to take this approach already and where that's been beneficial and where that's worked in terms of actually improving the efficiency of the council, so bringing forward the council tax online, all those capabilities there. The outcomes of that are demonstrated in the report, the efficiency gains. So we know that if we can communicate well, then there are benefits to us all, and that's what this strategy aims to help achieve. I would say I'm emphasising that it is a strategy written for residents. It's an outward-facing strategy and charter. To be really effective, it also needs to be underpinned by what I would describe as a strong corporate communication strategy as well. And that's something else that we are working on in parallel with this. So I hope that we'll have support for the document. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Do we have speakers on this, please? Please. Councillor Timms.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think it's a lot of motherhood and apple pie, to be honest. Being quite frank. There's no timescales. There's no this is what we're going to, how we're going to answer you. There's no, we will answer the phone. We will expect to be able to reply promptly if you put an email in. And I'm sorry, but I have had at least 4 of my residents contact me to put in things about council tax, and yet we have this wonderful digital system. When I send in an email, it gets sorted. But I shouldn't be doing that. That should be happening automatic. And please, 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 don't tell me that you are all about changing this from what you inherited. You inherited it nearly 18 months ago, and it's not changed. And every word written in here does not change it. What will change it is obviously having systems and processes in place. And I accept that takes time, and I accept that it takes staff training. But I do expect a strategy to at least define the timescales of what our residents can expect. Surely you should be doing that. At least, if it's a bit complicated, it will take this long. If it's easy, it will take this long. In my mind, that's the kind of strategy our residents want to see.
Thank you, Councillor. Do we have any other speakers? Councillor O'Rourke.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It is indeed the sort of strategy that we want and we should have. And actually, just for the record, I think it's 12 months, isn't it, since we took over, not 18. So just clearing that little bit of communication up so we're not getting mixed up. There have been a lot of challenges. You know, we haven't dragged them all out here, but there have been challenges. And I have to say, the communication hasn't been brilliant for a long, long time in terms of the outward-facing stuff. And we need to do more work on it. And we also need to think about how we work with our partners, whether it's the county council or our health partners. And this sort of strategy will enable us to work in a coordinated way so we start getting the important messages out to people in our borough, but also make sure that we have processes in place to make sure that things are dealt with in the appropriate manner at the appropriate time. So it's a step forward. There is a lot more to do. I think we have made huge strides. It's disappointing that you think we haven't done anything at all. I feel personally very proud of Love Rugby and a lot of the things I've done around health as well, and equality and diversity, but there's always more to do. So it'll be good to have this strategy to take us forward so we have a clear vision right across the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Rourke. Are there other speakers? Councillor Lawrence.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We brought this strategy into scrutiny, and that was welcomed because it was still in draft form. What was lacking at the time was we were unable to see this in context of other things which have been mentioned today, like the gimmick charters and things like that. So we do want to have that scrutiny where the portfolio holder is there to answer those questions so that we can start seeing the whole customer journey and just this one strategy. This one strategy we have looked at. We have put input and you have responded to it. I think it's the bigger picture. And to my fellow councillor, what we needed to see is the plan. We've had suggestions from the Chief Officer what they're intending to do. We need to hear that publicly and start having the plan to say you're about to go and do something. So in expectation of that, I finish.
Thank you, Councillor Lawrence. Do we have any more speakers? Councillor, would you like to reply? Oh, I'm so sorry. Forgive me.
Sorry. It just almost felt.
Councillor
I wasn't going to, but I thought it was important to. I guess in specific relation to Councillor Lawrence, I think it's the nature of the oil tanker to turn it around takes time, and to put those strategies together cohesively takes a bit of time. So I'm sure Councillor Robinson will come back in terms of specifics in terms of the plan, and it's a start in the right direction. But I think the point about scrutiny and seeing that the totality will take a little bit of time because we are trying to fix quite a few issues.
Thank you. Councillor, would you like to reply?
Thank you. Thank you to Councillor Timms and Councillor Lawrence as well. You know, I do essentially agree with you. I did introduce this as a high-level strategy for the public. There are some indications at the moment in the customer charter, that's where I would disagree slightly, that there are some timeframes around what we can do there. I do agree that we need to go further as a council. And in parallel with this work, we also have, as has been alluded to, plans ahead, you know, thoughts ongoing around the digital transformation. Because you actually, when we get into the customer charter bit and how long it takes to answer the phone and all of that aspect of the communication strategy which you've spoken about, you can't divorce that from transformation and the digital systems, how they all talk to each other. And that is a bigger, longer term piece of work. It is in the forward plan to bring that strategy forward. So that shouldn't be a surprise to hear me say it. You should be assured by the fact that it's in there. And I would welcome the opportunity to come to scrutiny with that ahead of bringing it to council, to have your input into that. And yeah, I mean, it's carts and horses, I suppose, isn't it? You know, you might say, well, you've put the cart before the horse in putting this out. But I do kind of feel that it's important to get something out in the public domain that starts to kind of nail our flag to the mast. And if we can improve on it over time, that's what we will do. But I hope that regardless of those things, that you will still give it your support, because it is a positive step forward. It's what we have is something that is better than nothing and will move us in the right direction. And what we do have is a plan to bring the rest forward as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. So moving on, Councillor Claire Edwards, would you move the confirmation and adoption of item 3 of the report, titled Asylum Seeker Support from Warwickshire County Council?
I so move, Madam Mayor. Second that, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Edwards, could you introduce the report, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I'm really pleased to be introducing this report. And I want to place on record my thanks to officers for all their hard work in bringing it forward, because it's quite a challenging report to do. But most of all, I actually want to thank all the volunteers across Rugby Borough who have worked tirelessly, often unsung, often quiet and discreet, to support new migrants into Rugby Borough, whether that's the significant Ukrainian community we have here, or Hong Kongers or Afghan families. They've also escaped from conflict and war and persecution, but are so keen to contribute to our economy here, to work hard and to put something back into rugby to make it a better place. This paper makes a recommendation for a 2-year funding agreement with one of our key partners, Warwickshire County Council, that will last 2 years, as I said, for the last financial year and run into this financial year as well. I would like members to support this, please. This cohort that we're talking about here have very little. Most of them are families. Most of them need a lot of support, and most of them have very little. And most of them actually are in transit. They're not going to stay in Warwickshire. So I want them to be treated with respect and dignity. And the value of this agreement is that we get extra funding to assist in that journey, and we get to retain some of the funding to tackle some of our homelessness issues here. I see it as a win-win, and I would urge members to vote in support of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Do we have speakers, please? Councillor Gillies.
Well, Madam Mayor, you and all the other councillors in this room will definitely agree with us that we are a generous nation. We'll help people in distress. We will come forward and help people that are genuine refugees. We definitely will. But I've got a few questions to ask on this report. We've seen that we gladly support those that are coming from Ukraine as well. You know, we welcome them with open arms. But with no numbers available in this report to scrutinise, I ask, are there any asylum seekers that fail the assessment interview stage and do not attain refugee status? And there will be a proportion of asylum seekers that are merely economic migrants. And is there evidence that these are repatriated? Throughout the report, the authors correctly identifies the individuals seeking asylum as asylum seekers. Should they be granted asylum, and therefore refugee status, then and only then would it be appropriate to identify the refugees as guests. I request that in the interest of correctness, the word is removed in parts 2.4, 4.1 and 4.2 of the report. And if anybody should want some reasoning behind my reasoning and that request, I'll gladly give it, but it'll take half an hour to do it. So just give that some thought. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other speakers, please? Councillor O'Rourke.
Yeah, just to clarify, this isn't a new scheme. It was put in place by the last government. It's something that comes in every year. We can't deliver all the things that need to be done, so the county council are doing it. It's no cost to this organisation in that respect. And actually, when you look at numbers and the sort of stuff that I've seen up there in terms of some of the support work I've been involved in, I think, well, last time I knew about numbers, I think there was 100 of them under 5 years of age. I don't think they're really economic migrants, but I might be wrong. I think it's really important that we support this. We supported it when you brought it forward, and I'm really disappointed that those sort of questions have been asked about something that's a continuation from the last government. Thank you.
A point of order there.
Sorry, just a moment. Just one moment. Right, I hate to be school teachery in this, but it is through the chair. Thank you. Are there any more speakers?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I almost feel kind of duty bound to kind of say a couple of words on this. That I think the quite dramatic attempts to make distinctions between refugees and try and put refugees from Ukraine in a wholly different category is wrong. And I think those fleeing persecution in need of help and support should be embraced singularly and treated equally. And I think with regards to specifics on the migration system, I think this chamber is going to get into a whole world of conflating priorities if we start debating national issues and decisions that are taken at a national level. I think what we need to focus on is what rugby does best, whether it's the Diwali celebrations, whether it's the Love Rugby celebrations. Rugby is better for the sum of its parts and not for its individuality. And I think the message that comes across is absolutely fundamental. So as leader of the council, I want to make that absolutely clear, that rugby is an open community and it's an inclusive community, whether that's individuals from Ukraine, whether that's other individuals designated and determined as asylum seekers by the relevant authorities. And I want to place on record my faith and support in officers for doing their absolute professional due diligence to make those decisions. That's what they're paid for. And I think, as Councillor O'Rourke said, we have an opportunity to extend support to those that are needed. And if those people are in any doubts about people in need of support, there are, I won't name them, but there are various venues and locations where visits can be had to see those people. So this idea that somehow asylum seekers are basking in luxury, I think that a dose of reality checks with people seeing them firsthand would correct that misinformation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Lawrence.
The distinction on the people we are talking to was actually in the draft housing strategy. Okay, so it's not numbers that I've seen before, but they were there. So I understand it is 700, 750 people seeking asylum. Oh, that's what the graph says, and you're disputing the graph. What the point is to Councillor Edwards, I'm not really wanting to dispute the number. It was the magnitude that Rugby is taking, which I think is about 60% over the 5 boroughs. If you're taking the category I'm talking to, and then we're most on everything else. So it's not really that I'm disputing the type of asylum, it's actually the level that Rugby is taking. And making sure, and my question to you therefore, is Warwickshire County Council therefore supporting us more than the other 4 boroughs when we are taking most of the weight? Numbers are coming from the Home Office, I know, not from yourself, and it's difficult to get numbers from Home Office, so let's not talk about numbers, let's just talk a weight of burden if we could, please.
Thank you, Councillor Lawrence. Do we have any more speakers? So I'll call on Councillor Claire Edwards, please, to reply.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Gillies. I know this is an emotive subject, but part of the problem is that language matters. And in public discourse, lots of people are being labelled, and they're being labelled incorrectly. And there is damaging consequences to label people incorrectly. And that is why we use the word guest, because actually they are guests. The vast majority are passing through. As my colleague said, a significant number are children. A significant number are people who are fleeing persecution and war and conflict. But that's not a decision for us to make here in this chamber today. There is a really onerous initial interview process where people who claim asylum have to be assessed, they have to be fingerprinted, they have to be checked out, they have to have all their papers checked out, they are photographed and have a health assessment. And then an assessment is made, not by us, but by the Home Office, as to whether they are just destitute or not, or have the means to look after themselves. We are hosting a number of families who have been designated as being destitute. That's why they are going into that contingent accommodation. It's not an ideal place to be with a young family. It's not easy to live in a single room with one shared bathroom sometimes. It's not easy to live with lots of children when you don't know when the final decision on your application will come through. And in the meantime, you have 3 meals a day at times of the day that are not easy with food that you're not used to. It is challenging circumstances. And I think we have a duty to make sure that their stay is belt and braces, covers the essentials. We are not talking a gold-plated service here. The numbers that table that you looked at scrutiny was misleading. That was a table that covered everyone who was in Rugby Borough at a particular time. But it didn't differentiate between the different statuses and whether they were Ukrainian with the right to work or whether they were Hong Kongers who also have a right to work, but we're not so sure of the numbers because they're not published, and those that are coming through contingent accommodation and those in dispersed accommodation. But those numbers are out of date. We are not talking 700 here and now. Those numbers were correct last year. The numbers are changing all the time. And you can tell from the numbers in this report that actually, as of 31st of March, it's 279. Now, I don't think that's an impossible number to accommodate short term. This government, as does the last government, have an ambition to stop using contingent accommodation. We need to do all we can so that those guests, when they go through the system, have the opportunity to contribute to this economy as best they can. And the best way to do that is to ensure they get an education, to get access to ESOL classes, to get access to work when they can do it, because they will then pay taxes and contribute to this economy. I have met some wonderful people who are escaping persecution. I've met women who are architects and engineers and teachers and lawyers, and they are not allowed to practice in their own country. That's why they're here. They want a better future for their family, they want a better future for their children, they want a better future for their young girls, their daughters. And I think we have an opportunity to make sure that that happens. So I welcome scrutiny, I really do, and I'm happy to come back to scrutiny in the future and look at this in more detail. But in the short term, I really want that funding to go to the county council so they can continue to do the good work that they are already doing and support that voluntary sector who are doing such a lot of good work and need to be supported in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. We will move on now, please. Councillor Livesey, will you move the confirmation and adoption of item 5 of the report titled Communications Plan and Collections Rescheduling? Oh. Please forgive me. So sorry. I'm not trying to race you through this, honestly. Councillor Claire Edwards, forgive me. Will you move the confirmation and adoption of item 4 of the report, Capital Programme Roof Replacement?
So move. Thank you.
We have a seconder, please.
Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'Rourke. Edwards, would you speak to introduce the report, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I won't say very much. This is a recommendation that we put some capital funding into roof replacement. We have a number of homes that need new roofs, and it's so much more effective if we have a fund in the capital fund that we can draw on and to do that work, which is really necessary. I really think we need to do this. It makes a lot of sense, and we can reduce our voids of council housing. I'm really keen that we have as few voids as possible, and this work needs doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Do we have anybody who'd like to speak on this, please? Councillor Gillies, please.
Well, Madam Mayor, this is a subject that I know a lot about. Not so much the roof tiles, but the loft space. Because in a couple of months' time, I shall have been an electrician for 55 years, and I've spent a great proportion of my life working in lofts, rewiring some hundreds of houses in Rugby, Daventry, all over the place. And I can tell you, over a period of years, and starting off from my old dwelling that my parents rented, I was 7 by the time we got electricity in our house, and 14 by the time we got a flush toilet. So I know exactly what it's like to rough it. Don't need any educating on that. But as far as the loft insulation goes, we know we've moved from no loft insulation, and therefore hot summer days, and we know the summers are getting hotter, more intense sunlight. That heat has permeated down from the loft into the rooms below. But then we got about 2 inches of loft space, 50 mil, and then 6 inches, and then a foot. And what that means is that all that heat that's accumulating in the loft is getting to at least 80 degrees. Now, we're all fairly foolish, aren't we? Because we store all sorts of things in your loft space, and you have got no idea how combustible it is. When I was digging around my loft the other day, I managed to find some little tablets from a Jet X50 jet aeroplane. Combustible fuel. These sort of things could ignite in the loft space and cause significant problems regards fire. Now, what there is on the market, and there's a number of various makes, there's what's called a superfoil, SF6. And that is, instead of a roofing felt, you've put this material under the tile as batten, and that acts as a very, very good insulator, so it keeps the loft cool. And I think that has got to be a way forward, because I think we're in for trouble in the years to come if we don't start thinking in that way. Likewise, it'll insulate the houses better, keep it cooler in the summer and keep the heating during the winter. So I'd like to put that forward as a bit of a recommendation on the re-roofing of those houses, just in case I might have to go into one of the lofts.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gillies. Thank you. Do we have any other speakers on this, please? Yes, Councillor Daly.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm sure we'll all be rushing home tonight to check our lofts for SF50 fuel. I just wanted to say that I thought this was a really sensible report to Council. The stock condition surveys have been done across all of our properties, actually, isn't it, this year? And obviously we're now acting on some of the issues that were identified. So I think this is a really sensible move, and I'm sure it will have support across this chamber. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Moran, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Daly, for your contribution. It's great to hear both common sense and warm apple pie kind of warmth and interventions. I think all I wanted to do was, I think perhaps I'm missing it, and perhaps Councillor Edwards can clarify, but this is an approach to start setting up the mechanics and the process by which we can invest and can, do those strategic investments that are required in our portfolio. So having seen some of it firsthand, I wanted to put on record again the thanks to the officers, but to give Councillor Edwards the opportunity to reply to the specifics.
Thank you. Are there any more speakers? Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Leader of the Council, for putting me on the spot again. I'm really pleased with the work of officers have done. We're now at 83% of our stock survey of our stock. That means we're so much closer to understanding where our issues are and can put a plan in place to do those repairs. I didn't understand everything Councillor Gillies has mentioned, but I think insulation and warm homes is an area that we are going to make you listen to on a regular basis. We will have a lot of engagement because we have a really significant grant to sort out around just over 1,000 homes, which is 1/3 of our stock, with things like insulation and different sources and more efficiency of heat sources. So I'm really pleased that this report has got your support. We need to do it, and we need to crack on with those properties that need support. I hope we get in there before the winter. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Now, it really is Councillor Livesey. Will you move the confirmation and adoption of item 5 of the report, titled Communications Plan and Collections Rescheduling for Food Waste 2026, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I so move.
Do we have a seconder, please?
I'll second it, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moran. Councillor Livesey, could you introduce it, please?
So thank you. This report is about implementing, or taking the first steps towards implementing the food waste collection that all councils have to do from the 1st of April next year. The government has given us money to support that implementation, and the money that this paper is talking about comes from that government grant. We need to make sure that all our residents know exactly what's going to be happening. There's going to be some changes to how frequently, to when their bins are collected, not how frequently they're collected. And they will always be collected on the same day. We've got about 50,000 houses to collect from. We have people in HMOs, we have people in sheltered housing, and it's important that they all get the message about what's going to happen. We have no choice. We have got to do this. All councils have to do it. And it's going to see some major changes and hopefully some major improvements in our recycling rates, our composting rates, and various other things. And it's a question of let's just get on with it.
Thank you, Councillor. Do we have any speakers? Councillor Roothouse.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I welcome the words from the portfolio holder. And we recognise that it's government money, which will give us some extra staff as well to do this. But this is going to be one of the biggest changes for this borough in relation to its waste collection services for a long time that we haven't seen. And learning from elsewhere is one of the key messages around this. and actually getting that message out, I think is down to each and every one of us in the chamber as well to help and do that. You know, I do still have some concerns around our comms and how we're going to do that and how we're going to get that message out, because you can guarantee, you know, you'll get some people it just ain't going to land at all. And I think we're all duty bound to actually try and get behind this and do what we can, and you know, doing that messages as well. So the sooner we can start on that messaging, the better, because it will take time, and as we all know, we have to keep repeating the message over and over again, and it still doesn't land. But hopefully with this, because it is going to happen, we have to do it. We've got no choice about it.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Simpson-Vince, please.
Thank you. It's just a quick question around the funding for this, because I appreciate we've got the DEFRA fund to pay for some of this. Is that, given this is supposed to start from the 1st of April, is the DEFRA funding up to the 31st of March? Do we have to spend it by that date? Because it seems to imply in here that from the 1st of April onwards, it might be us funding it. And just wondered if you could clarify. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you. Councillor Paul, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Livesey already knows that I spoke at Cabinet on the 24th of June this year about this report. I welcome the report. Councillor Roodhouse has stolen 90% of my words. I don't mind, saves me saying it, but I do wish that in your papers and all the councillors, we get the information to give to our residents where the 185k is being spent, and can you please make sure that the bins are collected, not like they are at the moment, please. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Paul. Anyone else? Councillor Gillies.
You know, driving around the borough, I often see the dustbin going around picking up the wheelie bins and whatnot, and most of them are very, very highly efficient. It's just the odd one or two don't seem to realise what danger they put motorists in and pedestrians when they don't put the dustbin back where they got it from. Sometimes they leave the dustbin right in the middle of a driveway, so vehicles have to stop on dangerous corners to move the bin so they can get into the drive. Please can we get a message across? It isn't rocket science. Put the bin back from where you got it from. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I'm sure we can set that as an expectation. Any other speakers, please? Councillor Moran, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And Councillor Gillies, as you're speaking, I do genuinely say this tongue-in-cheek, but I'm sure there's a commercial opportunity for you for a podcast about sort of homespun advice from Councillor Gillies after 50 years. And you could be an internet sensation. But I think genuinely speaking, I think such is the nature of social media from Cabinet, which I thought we had a very good cross-party discussion about this topic. Such is the way things were spun. It was characterised that we were spending £185,000 on leaflets. That isn't the case. And I think for me, it's very simple that rightly, the previous government mandated that councils need to upgrade and to regularise their waste collection strategies so that you had consistency and we dealt with things as efficiently as we could. Collectively, this administration took the decision to take as much time as possible to make sure we got it right. So part of that money, effectively from my perspective, my understanding, is that we're taking the best learnings from other councils who haven't always done it as well or as efficiently as we can. So it's trying to get the best advice we can to communicate with residents, because as Councillor Roodhouse said, everybody with regards to bins becomes very ingrained in what they do. And with a little bit of foresight and a bit of application, we can improve recycling rates, which ultimately not just helping the environment, but will help us financially. So hopefully that point of clarification, but it may be lost. We'll see. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. If there are no other speakers, can I ask Councillor Livesey, please, to reply?
Yeah, thank you very much, everybody. Councillor Gillies, I'm really very well aware of the difficulties we've been having with bin collections over the last few weeks. I was sat between two of my colleagues at LGA conference last week, and I had one in my left ear and one in my right ear, or the other way round, and it was It was quite challenging, and we are taking steps to see what we can do to improve that situation. In terms of Councillor Simpson's point, I think I need to take that away and get some clarification on that. I think my understanding is that we get... we get... My understanding is that we've got the money and we just need to spend it. So I hope you'll all support this paper.
Well, the seagull does. Thank you, Councillor. Are we being attacked by something or? Okay, thank you very much. I will now submit for confirmation and adoption of the whole report. In moving for confirmation and adoption of the whole report, this can take place en bloc or upon any member request, a vote can be taken separately in respect of each report. Does any member wish for a vote to be taken in respect of each individual report? Thank you. I now submit for confirmation and adoption the whole of the report. Please, those in favour, please show. Thank you. Any against? Thank you, that's unanimous. The amendments, sorry, it's carried. Point. So sorry. Please forgive me and thank you for pointing that out. Are there any other abstentions apart from Councillor Timms? Thank you, Councillor Timms. The next item involves something which the interim monitoring officer has to leave the room for. We'll just give her a moment to leave the room. The next item is to receive the report of the Acting Chief Executive set out at item 8 of the agenda. And the report concerns the appointment of an interim monitoring officer. Councillor Mistry, will you move the report?
Madam Mayor, I move so.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
Second it, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'Rourke. Do we have any speakers, please, on this? Oh, I'm so sorry, Councillor Mistry. I will get used to this, honestly. Councillor Mistry, can you introduce the report, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to welcome Janet McGregor, who is the new interim monitoring officer. Hopefully we vote for it. The council has a statutory duty to appoint a monitoring officer to fulfill the duties of the Local Government and Housing Act. And our current interim monitoring officer is leaving the council, but is moving on to another council, whatever. I've had a privilege to speak to Janet this morning, and she brings with her a depth of experience. She's very knowledgeable and experienced, and she'll be a really good asset to this organization to, we've been vacuum for a while, to get the statutory duty to appoint a monitoring officer. So I welcome that appointment, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mistry. Do we have any speakers on this, please? Thank you. Okay. So, those in favour, please show. Thank you. Those against, please show. Any abstentions, please show. Thank you. The recommendation is approved. Please can Jeanette be welcomed back into the sanctum. The next item is to receive the report of the Acting Chief Executive set out at item 8B of the agenda. Report concerns urgent decisions taken under delegated powers for the 24-25 municipal year. Councillor Mystery, will you move the report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move so.
Thank you, Councillor Mystery. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second it, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'Rourke. Do we have any speakers, please, for this? Councillor Mystery, I know you want to introduce the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I know it's a warm day and it's been pretty long as well. I think, Madam Mayor, under the Council Constitution, there is a requirement that decision taken as a matter of urgency decision in the year 2024-25 available to the next meeting be reported. So hereby I move the report as printed.
Thank you, Councillor. Do we have any speakers, please? Those in favour, please show. Thank you. Those against, please show. Any abstentions, please show. The report is approved. Thank you. The next item is to receive the report of the Chief Officer for Finance and Performance set out at item 8C of the agenda. The report concerns a proposed town centre business rate support scheme for 25-26. Councillor Mystery, will you move the report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move so.
Do we have a seconder?
Madam Mayor, I'll second it and reserve my right to speak.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Mystery, would you like to introduce the report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Third time lucky. This is a very important item, I think. And first of all, I want to put on record my thanks to John Illingworth and his team, and to come back with a report that's very positive, Madam Mayor, for the town centre independent retailers. And then since COVID days, they've gone through a hell of a difficult times, and we've gone out of our way to support them. While the town centre has been going through a lot of, decline, if that's the word to use, and there is a team of town centre regeneration team working behind the scene while that's going on, public realm, and hopefully this will support the independent local businesses to progress a little bit and support them where we can. So I welcome this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Call for speakers. Any speakers, please, Councillor.
Thank you. It's just a little point of clarification, actually, Councillor Mystery. Point of order, actually. I just wondered, for such an important item, why it hasn't gone through the forward plan.
We'll come back to that. No, we'll come back to it when it's your right to reply. Thank you. I believe there's a hand went up there. Councillor Daly, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, this sounds really positive. I like the fact that it directly targets businesses that aren't part of larger chains or larger businesses in general. It's a lot of money. It's 103,000. That's right, isn't it? My question is, are we definitely sure that that's what those smaller businesses in town centre would want that £103,000 being spent on, rather than, say, improvements generally to the town centre? That isn't a loaded question. I'm genuinely interested to hear the feedback from town centre businesses when they've been informed of this.
Thank you. Do you have more speakers? Councillor Roodhouse, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I welcome the report and the work that's gone into this, and to John's team as well for flying spreadsheets backwards and forwards. Speaking with retailers and people in the town centre, it's certainly a message which came back from the lower level, not the chains, really. And it's work, it's start, really. So this is sort of foundation work, which is starting to come through, which will be building on, hopefully, the regeneration work and building in. But it's quite clearly those independent businesses have been going on for some years through this time, and they've actually even had to bear the brunt of a lot of stuff that's going on. So this is that first step in doing that. But my understanding, speaking to them and listening to them, is that yes, they welcome this. It doesn't cover everything, but of course, you've got to make a start somewhere. So it's the first step on the road.
Thank you, Councillor. Any more speakers, please? If there are no more speakers, Councillor Moran.
Hi. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll wave in the future. I want to place on record thanks to Councillor Roodhouse, Councillor Thomas, Councillor Mistry and Robinson, and everyone on the Town Centre Working Group, because it's not easy, and it's been a lot of work getting into this. I'm sure Councillor Mistry can pick up as well, but I think in response to Councillor Garcia, Town Centre regeneration, full stop, has been on the forward plan for some time. You know, in roundabout ways, Town Centre regeneration has been on the forward plan of this council for over 20 years. It's a dynamic subject, and as part of that, we've had to work and engage, and to take on board previous comments, turning around this council does take time. To illustrate that, 12 months ago, or just over 12 months ago, not quite 18 months ago, but in the last administration, there was a vote of no confidence in the council. Over 100 town centre businesses were registering their displeasure at frustration of a lack of redevelopment and regeneration. So a huge amount of time and effort has gone into engaging with town centre businesses to work that through. As Councillor Roodhouse said, this is the first step in that process. It's employing, for me, very much a modern business approach. First and foremost, we have to look after our nearest and dearest, those retailers, those businesses that have stuck with rugby through thick and thin. We will be announcing shortly multi-million-pound investments in the town. It's therefore, to me, and to, I think, the sort of wider administration, it's absolute common sense that in the first element, we reciprocate, we engage with town centre retailers and leisure operators who have put that time in, who've worked through, who have paid business rates over years, over decades, who have employed countless local people. They've done that through faith and through a series of false promises they've been let down. That is now changing, and as part of what we're going to do going forward, we will be bringing in new businesses, new occupiers into the town. It's the nature of modern economics. All of those new companies will get some form of incentive, some form of inducement. It would therefore be wrong and remiss to ignore those retailers and those operators that have stuck with us through thick and thin. So it's the first part of the process, and certainly from the feedback I've had, it's been very, very welcomed from town centre businesses and operators. The council does have some discretion because it's an innovative scheme. And again, credit to John Illingworth and his team. They've really thought outside the box, because in the situation that we're in, that's been what's been required. So a lot of work to do. We have got some discretion in this, but what it does show businesses that we're serious about regenerating the town, and there's more news to come very shortly. Thank you.
Councillor Mistry, would you like to reply?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just answer Councillor Gracia's question about why it hasn't been through the system. It's been part of the town centre regeneration group, and we had a great opportunity to participate. You haven't. This is a very strong proactive response to what Councillor Ruda quite rightly said, that they've been listening to the town centre retailers, and we're responding to that requirement. And it's not the money that could be spent anywhere, what Councillor Daly is saying. And all I'm saying is that this is the welcome report, and this is the first step in a fast-moving project that's been taken by the town centre regeneration. So, good news. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mistry. Those in favour, please show. I believe there needs to be 2 people asking for a recorded vote. Three people. So Councillor O'Rourke is asking for a recorded vote. Anyone else? Councillor Robinson, Councillor Moran.
Thank you. I'll read out the names of councillors individually. If when I read out your name, you can reply for, against, or abstain. And apologies in advance if I read out the name of any councillor who's offered their apologies tonight. So, Councillor Barnett.
For.
Councillor Bennett. Councillor Brown.
4.
Councillor Daly.
4.
Councillor Dumbleton is not here this evening. Councillor Claire Edwards. Councillor Sam Edwards. Councillor Freeman. Councillor Garcia. Councillor Garcia. 4. Councillor Gillias. Councillor Harrington. Councillor Hassel. Councillor Henderson. Councillor Howling. Councillor Caradier.
4.
Councillor Dale Keeling isn't here. Councillor John Keeling.
4.
Councillor Lawrence. Councillor Lewis isn't here. Councillor Livesey. Councillor Maudis. Councillor Mackenzie is absent. Councillor Mystery.
4.
Councillor Morin. Councillor Newt. Apologies, Councillor Lewis. Councillor Lewis, 4, thank you. Councillor O'Rourke.
4.
Councillor Poole.
4.
Councillor Robinson.
4.
Councillor Roodhouse. 4. Councillor Russell.
4.
Councillor Sayani. 4. Councillor Simpson Vince. 4. Councillor Thomas. 4. Councillor Timms. 4. Councillor Trimble.
4.
Councillor Ward. 4. And Councillor Willis. 4. That's unanimous.
So on that unanimous vote, the recommendations are approved. Moving on to item 8, there are no motions on notice to be considered this evening, so we're straight through to item 9, motion to exclude the public under section 100A(4) of the Local Government Act 1972. Under section 100A(4) of the Local Government Act 1972, the public should be excluded from the meeting for the following items on the grounds that it involves the likely disclosure of information defined in paragraph 3 of Schedule 12A of the Act. I so move. Do I have a seconder?
I second the report, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Those in favour, please show. Thank you. Those against, please show. Any abstentions? Thank you. Can we stop the live stream?